Hey, hello everyone. How are you doing? Welcome to the show. Sorry for being so late today, but thanks for joining us. Russ, you had something to talk about.
I do, but I can't find my my open window here for.
Okay.
This is going to be a problem. Hold on.
Okay, no problem.
Because if I don't find the open window, then Mike's going to scream at me. Okay, I found it.
Okay.
It didn't click over yet. That's weird. All right. So here's the today's dilemma. So we're going to talk about what you believe is the greatest drum work that you've ever seen live or heard live. So you didn't have to be at that show. You could have been on that tour, but maybe they put out an album and and you said, you know what? Yeah, that was pretty amazing. And so I'll start it off. I know people thought it would probably be Carl Palmer, and it's not. Carl Palmer's great. He might be the best showman of them all, but I can't point out the one song where, hey, Carl Palmer just killed it, because he killed it on a lot of stuff. But Carl Palmer wasn't to me, like a precision drummer. He was almost like Van Halen of drummers, where he did a little bit of everything, and he was spectacular doing it, and looking at him and ripping his shirt off and all that. That was his act. And
that was his thing. And a lot of drummers, like drummers I knew, weren't like the craziest about him. They didn't think he was the best drummer out there for sure.
Right. So the one I'm going to give is when for the Three Sides Live album for Genesis, I saw that tour in Forest Hills. That was like their 30th anniversary tour. They played Supper's Ready. It was a big deal. Yeah. And for that tour, and I think it was only in the UK. Of course, Mike will probably know this, and then he'll either correct me or not. But Bill Bruford played on it and played on Watcher of the Skies. And if you listen to that, it's unbelievable. Now, the record company clearly knew this, because you could buy two versions of this album. You could buy the album version with the couple of previous unreleased studio songs, which included Paper Late, or you could buy the version that had the additional live stuff, with Watcher in the Skies. And I'm almost willing to bet that would sell probably 5-1 over the extra studio stuff.
Well, I bought both versions.
Okay.
One import, one, and I liked the fourth side with Evidence of Autumn, Open Door, Me and Virgil. Those are all great songs. But the thing was, Russ, Bruford only toured with Genesis in '76 on the tour that ended up being the Seconds Out album, and that was a leftover from that.
Now you saw this? You saw that, Russ, live?
I did see that tour live. I didn't see this performance. And now that I know it's even older, that makes it even better. But what Bruford did on the drums on this performance for, I want to say, 20-25 minutes, had to be grueling.
Yeah, I'm sure you've both seen the concert movie, the Genesis concert movie it used to be on USA Network. They used to play it like at midnight all the time. And I think it was running in the theaters in the 70s as like before they did like Rocky Horror, they would run this as like a 45-minute preview.
Let me stop you there, Mike, because you brought back a memory. We would go every Friday night and see one of these type movies, because a lot of bands did them.
Song remains the same.
Song remains the same that way. Yes, song. Yeah. And I would be a little drunk. I would.
Yes. Yes.
Well, that was the good old days of the Rocky Horror Show too. So
right. And it's funny because the when I told you about when you were bringing up the subject was what I always referred to as, because there's a track on the Genesis album Trick of the Tail, which is the finisher for most of their concerts, was called Los Endos. Me and a friend would call this version Super Endos, because it was both Collins and Bruford playing at the same time and synchronized. And these two are two of the best drummers ever, and being synchronized. And Collins and Chester Thompson did that as well, but they played a lot together. And I think Chester Thompson's a good drummer, but not at the level of Bruford. But them playing the passages that they were doing at the speed that they were doing it, and it being synchronized, is just incredible.
Yeah, that's really hard to do with drummers, and it's not, it's hard to get. I mean, the thing. So I just saw Palmer recently with this Asia tour.
Right.
And he's very old now, obviously.
He's 70.
Yeah, and that's, so it's not fair to put anything. But the thing that always amazed me, and I saw him with Emerson, Lake, and Palmer too once. I also saw Emerson, Lake and Powell once. Powell was a pretty good drummer too.
Cozy Powell was really good. Yeah, that was a good album. I had that album.
Yeah, that was a good album. But I always found that a little bit. It's so hard to. So you can't really compare drummers to. So, I mean,
with one performance, like one song.
Yeah, I mean, there's incredible. I mean, I mean, if I could ever see Supper's Ready live performed by any members of Genesis, I would be thrilled. I mean, that would be like a huge thing for me because that is my favorite song of all time. And
I'll give you the setup on this act. So when I saw Forest Hills, this was the first time they ever opened up Forest Hills for concerts. Always was just for tennis. And it was hard to get tickets for. I was probably like 10th row on the floor, and it was the summertime, and it was a beautiful summer night. It really was.
Oh man, see, that's amazing. I just that would slay me. And I was one of I was in the studio with Jerry Murata, who's a drummer, and he was the drummer for Peter Gabriel's solo band for many. I guess for the first album, first two albums maybe before Manu Cachet took yeah, he was the drummer from Orleans, the famous band Orleans.
Oh, Orleans, yeah.
That's where he was that band, and he was great. Jerry Murata has turned into a really great producer and stuff like that. And while I was there, he actually was working with us, and Tony Levin was working with us as well. So that's where I got
Tony Levin's a big name.
Famous Tony Levin, Jerry Murata lunch at Applebee's. It's hilarious in Woodstock, New York. I know, but we talked a lot about different kinds of drummers, and because Jerry was a drummer, and he was like. It's like it depends what you are looking for out of a drummer, like it really does. I mean, my favorite drummers are drummers that really put down a better pocket than a lot of the guys you're talking about.
Okay.
Because I mean, to me, but drums are their own instrument, of course, obviously. But if you sometimes you need to, if you can go off on solos, but still keep a pocket going, that's really solid. That's what I found sometimes with Bruford and Palmer is that they would lose the pocket of the song in their drum solos because they're vamping off, and that doesn't matter necessarily to some people. Some people don't care.
That's more a jazz influence because they're just riffing. They're just going on, and that may have been carved out in the song that they allow them that freedom to do that for a certain.
Yeah, and that is usually what happens. Especially with those guys when they do solos. I mean, they're allowed to do. I mean, Neil Peart's an amazing drummer.
Yeah.
Let's and not forget, he's.
I'll give you one that my parents liked. That I remember they made sure I saw like on the Tonight Show, Buddy Rich.
Buddy Rich. I mean, Paul McCartney. Ringo Starr was in there. Ringo Starr was a really influential drummer, even though a lot of people don't call him a good drummer. I mean, but he was, for what he did, the simplicity of what he did, led. I mean, there are so many.
All right, so who's better, Ringo Starr or Charlie Watts? Because
Ringo is.
Yeah, I would say so.
Charlie Watts is known as the human metronome, and I'm sorry.
I would say that you can't discredit George Martin's influence on Ringo Starr. So it's hard to really say like.
That's fair.
I mean, Charlie Watts didn't necessarily have that, but Martin really got Ringo to do what he did.
Anybody who listens to the medley on Abbey Road and the song "The End" with the drum at the end of it, if you're not banging along with Ringo on that one, you're not human because it's
Lord Oberman has a great point. So I once saw a triple bill at Chase Stadium. It was REM, Joan Jett, and the Police. Now we were stupid and we were drinking and playing frisbee during REM, so we totally missed them. They weren't on for very long and we missed them. But Stuart Copeland, like on Spirits in the Material World, is just spectacular. Like he really is.
He's in my top 10 drummers. Yeah. I'll to stick with your question. I'll give you mine here. If you've ever seen, and it's been out there for a long time. I think it was filmed in 1985. The concert movie Bring On the Night. It was Sting's first tour as a solo artist after the Police. His band with a number of jazz performers, including Branford Marsalis, and his drummer was a guy named Omar Hakim from Weather.
Yeah.
There's a Police song called "I Burn for You," and the drum solo at the end of "I Burn for You" is so unbelievable. It's got to be one of my favorites. He is an incredible.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, somebody I don't think
on Helm. I mean, I didn't know the band's music well enough to be able to give you a good answer on that. Maybe Ek does. I don't.
I don't know that well. I mean, one of the guys I really like is Phil Selway, who's the drummer for Radiohead.
Oh yeah.
And There's a really great YouTube video if you watch Phil Selway and Ringo Starr playing drums together on Beatles songs. It's a YouTube video. It's really fun. I mean, Phil Selway is insane. He's a really great drummer, and Radiohead is crazy good. I mean, they really are. They
Keith Moon, right? He was insane too. I don't think Keith Moon's in the same vein as some of the other drummers we're mentioning.
No,
just another one that you didn't know what he was going to do. I don't even know if the band knew what he was going to do.
Yeah, Keith Moon, I mean, is one of those guys who, obviously died so young, and it's hard to tell. But a lot of his legendary stuff has grown beyond him.
Another good performance at Live Aid.
Animal from the Muppets. I'll give you that one. That's for sure. That's a good one. Sorry.
Yeah, at Live Aid, Power Station was there, but unfortunately, Robert Palmer had quit. So they went with Michael DeBarres, but on drums was Tony Thompson. Yep. And when he was playing like Bang a Gong, this guy could play, man. He never gets.
No. There's a lot of good drummers and really great drummers. And the reality of it in music, when you're trying out a musician for your band, the hardest thing to find is a drummer who's good. Okay. And that is by far the most difficult thing. And when you find a drummer that's good, you just stick with that drummer forever. Because I mean, drummers, that if you have a drummer who you don't have to think about, you're set like that. But that is the backbone of everything, for sure.
It's the engine, right?
Oh yeah, it's the engine, and it enables you as a musician to just float above the music and do your own thing, as opposed to having to tie it down, and lock it in like that. Bass players and drummers, they have to lock it in together. But when you get to play your instrument and stuff like that, if there's a solid thing underneath you, you're set. You can just go. And there's nothing like that versus having someone who's fluctuating underneath you. That's just.
But how come all musicians pretend they could play the drums? Like the funniest thing that I always see are when guitar players or a singer or whatever, they'll get behind the drum set for a minute. And the drummer always looks like a little annoyed when they do that in a concert, but a lot of them do it.
Well, playing drums is not that hard, but playing drums well is incredibly hard. So it's like one of those things that's really just like, a lot of people can play guitar and fake it. Well, you can fake drums if you're playing by yourself. So if you watch somebody with a guitar just sitting there and playing by themselves, that's fine. But to actually play drums means playing drums with a band. And if you can play drums with a band, that's
Gabriel played drums before, like in concert. Every once in a while, he would he would go behind the drums and play along. He was an drummer. And I know that obviously everybody knows Paul McCartney played drums when Ringo quit the Beatles for about 3 weeks. He played drums on back in the USSR and
again, a bass player, so bass players and drummers have the same kind of mentality. They have the same kind of mentality for sure.
I always saw like Squire and White. I always saw guys like that jamming together in a concert. Never really thought about it. Now it makes sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's an incredible skill, and but there's all different kinds of drummers. I know that we've had a couple of drummers, and there've been some phenomenal guys that play with us. So it's really hard to find.
At least we didn't say an Air Supply drummer or something. That's good.
No,
Alex Van Halen, man.
Although this is the thing that you would we toured with Richard Marx for a while, and Richard Marx, I don't know who his drummer was, I don't know his name, but those guys who play in those bands like Air Supply and they're amazing.
I'm not going to say Air Supply is amazing at anything.
They're incredible musicians. They do their. You might not like their music, but what they do incredibly well.
Sappy garbage music. But I will say this: I did see Richard Marx on tour because someone in my house wanted to see him. He is good. There's no question that there are some Richard Marx songs that are good. He's good in concert, like he is.
He's the nicest guy in the world. Like he seems
like a good dude. He does.
Such a good guy.
That concert don't mean nothing.
Yeah, we played at the concert in the Round on Long Island with with Richard Marx.
Westbury Music Fair.
Westbury Music Fair is one of my favorite concerts we've ever done.
Yeah,
and he was awesome. He was awesome to us, and his wife was the blonde girl who gets pregnant in Dirty Dancing.
Yeah,
she was there.
I didn't see America in concert, right? But I'm not going to call them great musicians.
Again, but those guys,
they're fun.
I played with them too. I'm not really big into that kind of American Little River Band type stuff. It's not my cup of tea, but
they're Australian.
Yeah, there's different things there for sure.
What would be called yacht rock now?
Yeah, it is what's called yacht rock now.
Yacht rock.
My wife suddenly is like heavy into country all of a sudden. Like she's listening to Kenny Chesney all the time around here, which is hard to deal with.
Lock her away and make sure that you play lots of progressive.
I'm going to tell you what's happening here, and this is what's happening with your wife.
Yeah,
because I'm at a particular age now where I know a lot of, women from my graduating class from high school who didn't like country back then, but they like it now. And country is dominated by male singers.
Yeah.
They're in their 40s, 50s. They like the male singer. That's what it is. It boils down to that.
If you like, and the last thing, and we'll start talking hockey. If you like superior musicianship, you don't listen to country. You listen to bluegrass. Bluegrass.
I think that's totally unfair.
I know. I think bluegrass, like Alison Krauss and Jerry Douglas and Sarah.
No, I mean they're great musicians too, but there are great. I mean, see, they're great musicians in everything. Okay, there's amazing country musicians. I mean, you listen to Taylor Swift band. Taylor Swift band's ridiculous. They're really good.
I knew you would bring up the Taylor Swift band. I almost was going to make a joke about that.
You know how good they are. You know how hard it is to get into the Taylor Swift band. Can you imagine? You know how much money they make, so you know how difficult that is. You know how good those guys have to be.
I don't care about money unless you're taking us for free. I'm not going, so I'll never know.
No, but if you're a drummer and you're a studio drummer trying to go on tour, the competition to be in something like a band that's playing like the amount of shows and the amount of money that Taylor Swift is incredible. So if you think of that competition alone, think about how good you have to be to get into that band.
Yeah, but if you're let's break this down. If you're like a middle-aged cigarette smoking fat drummer like the Cheap Trick guy, they're not hiring him even if he's the best guy because he doesn't have the look. They're going for
no. You have to have the look too, but you got to also be good. There's 100 billion people who want to be on this tour. I mean, it's not. It's definitely not.
You have to mention John Bonham. Bardicus mentioned him. John Bonham was great. There's no question. I never got to see Led Zeppelin in concert, only what they did at Live Aid. I was going to get tickets at Nassau Coliseum for the tour for In Through the Outdoor, and then he died. So I never had a chance to see them live.
I saw Nirvana live when they were at Philly at the Khyber Pass, which is like a really small place in Philly.
Yeah. So what was Grohl like then?
Unbelievable. I mean, this was before Nirvana hit. So this was like,
this was like during Bleach before Smells Like.
This is when my art friend students who were in college like knew of Nirvana and I didn't, and they took me. I'm like, yeah, you got to check this out. And I was like, what the hell is that? It was really blew me away. It blew me away, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't think the world is ready. It felt like a step really far away from what was happening, and it was. I mean, and they completely, absolutely nailed it. I mean, they were unbelievable. So yeah, I mean that's true too. You have to. I mean, there's a lot of talented people out there, but people rip on country music because they don't like it.
No. Look, I went to college down south. I heard country music. It's a lot of steel guitar. Everybody's dog got run over. Everybody's got to pick up.
Well, no, I agree. I'm not a fan of the lyrics.
Everybody's wife is having an affair with. I'm
going to go one step further. Not only am I not a fan of the lyrics, some of them are the laziest, just most depressing lyrics you can find in music.
Yeah,
I agree. No, I do. I'm not disagreeing with the lyrics aspect of country music. I will never disagree with you there. I mean, there are some really good ones, obviously, but like we saw Tim McGraw a couple weeks ago, and I think his band was incredible, and the songs were good songs. He obviously knows how to write a song, but at the same time, the lyrics were just.
Can you even name a song?
No, the lyrics were terrible. I mean, and I mean, I know them. I don't know what they're called.
No, but you know what I mean. But that's
no, that was the joke of the concert. My wife and I, we were sitting there. We were given the tickets by friends of ours who couldn't go. We're sitting in the second row, like right in front of him, and it was the last second thing. We're watching it, and the joke between the whole thing is we knew like the one song that everybody knows from Tim McGraw, but you would know it. It's like I think it was like a Monday Night Football song for a while, but then you're sitting there and. Our joke was we heard the first chorus, the first time we heard the chorus, and then could we learn that chorus like word for word by the end of the song, which usually you could, like, you could find a way because it was obvious. There were so obvious lyrics, obvious rhymes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot there, but musicianship as far as country music goes, anything, anywhere, any place where there's a lot of anything, there's talent. That's the bottom line. There's a lot of country.
Somebody hit a chord with me here because they brought up Come Sail Away. Look, Styx does have some good drum stuff. They with too much time on my hands, it's well done. Poor guy died. I think it was John Panazzo because I think Chuck is his brother.
Yep.
I think it's that way, or maybe the other way around. He was a good drummer, but he's nowhere near in the league that we're talking.
Yeah, and I saw Styx live several times. I was a big Styx fan as a kid. I saw the Grand Illusion tour. A lot, yeah. I saw Grand Illusion tour. I saw the Mr. Roboto tour.
Wow.
That was the end. I saw the
of 8. I saw the Pieces of 8 tour.
And then wow, so you're ahead of me, yeah. So, but I did see them like 2 years ago. Again, without Dennis DeYoung.
I saw him twice in the
Oh,
last.
John Anderson this weekend, is in Ocean City.
Yeah, I know. We're in contact with his publicist. I may be able to get to go. We'll see.
I was thinking about it. I don't know if my wife could take another prog rock show so soon after. I'm thinking I'm trying to.
1,000 Hands is not very prog rockish at all. Now, he'll play half the set will be Yes Music, but half is off his new album, and that's not prog rock. Really,
you better start talking hockey, or they're gonna revolt.
Yeah, we're gonna go. But that is a really cool place. I saw the Hooters in that place, and it's small. That's a really fun place to see John Anderson.
That sounds like a nightmare, but let's go.
There's nowhere else, but there's not. Again,
Ocean City's great. No, Ocean City.
No,
the Hooters are a nightmare. Let's.
Oh, stop.
Those are great guys too. Anyway, moving on. Here we go. For those of you who keep track of the time, I'm sorry. Hello, Hockey World. It's Thursday, July 25th, 2019.
I'm Michael Lagello.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I am Eklund, and we have a trade to announce. A small trade, but a trade to announce.
Yes.
Mike?
Between the ever busy Toronto Maple Leafs and the St. Louis Blues.
They moved Marner?
No. Paul Marner has been traded.
Right. No, they did not move Mitch Marner.
No, it's a 1-for-1 defensive deal. Andreas Borgman going to St. Louis. Jordan Schmaltz going to the Leafs. Schmaltz is a right-hand shot, former first-round pick. I mislooked at Cap Central. I thought he was an RFA, arbitration eligible RFA, but he's still under contract, $700,000 this year. Borgman is a left-hand shot, so I think this is more the Leafs saying, okay, here's some depth on the right side. Maybe bottom pairing guy, a guy who could play in the league, at least not be a liability like some of the defensemen they have, like Martin Marincin or Justin Hall, who I don't think are NHL defensemen. And they may play some of them early in the season because Travis Dermott is hurt. Right. I think it's a pretty fair, pretty even deal. They're both, mid-20s.
It's good to get some Schmaltz on the defensive end for the Leafs. I think it's a good thing.
No, it's good. I mean, Schmaltz is a fast puck transporting guy. The offense never came around, but he could play a little bit, and he played for Dave Haxtell. That is the big key here.
Oh, so he's a North Dakota kid.
He's a North Dakota guy. So now you're hoping he and Haxtell really click again, because if he does, maybe the offense does come back out. So this is a good low risk move for them. By the way, in the chat room, the show has never clicked over. So if it all of a sudden you start hearing it out of nowhere, I can't control it anymore. I've been waiting for like 5 minutes. And
it's funny, it's working for me. People are following along with me in the chat room.
No, it's working. What I'm saying is I always have to pause the show because Mike gets really bitchy about it when he hears his own voice, like even for a second.
Yeah.
And so like it could click over any minute. Like it's just it hasn't done that when I have to hit the pause.
I got you. Yeah. I got you. Yeah, no, I mean it's not a bet. I mean anything can help defensively with Toronto is a good idea,
Well, they're bottom. It's funny because I started a series of articles here, looking at some of the battles that will be taking place in training camp, like fourth line center and bottom pairing defense. And if you look at the bottom pairing of their defense before Travis Dermott comes back, it's a horror show. It's Justin Hall, Martin Marincin, Kevin Gravel. Ben Harper. I mean, it's not good. I mean, they're going to be playing their top 4 over 20 minutes a night for sure early on in the season because these guys, let's just say Babcock will not want them out that much. Yeah,
there's no way. No, I agree.
Now, he might like Schmaltz a little bit because there is a little bit of an edge to his play, too.
Right. That's good. I'm just saying. Yeah. I mean, last year when they needed they basically sat Justin Hall for the entire year. He played 5 games. He was healthy the entire year. And I don't like that. I really like if the guy makes the team, then he should get in there every once in a while. These taxi squad guys like Nick Batan, who couldn't play because they couldn't send him down to the minors, and he was never somebody they kept him around because they didn't want to lose him on waivers.
Who was the other defenseman a couple of years ago?
Oh, Frankie Corrado.
Frankie Corrado, that poor guy.
Yeah, well, and that's
paid, but
he got paid. But the thing was that Lou Lamoriello picked him up without consulting Mike Babcock, and Mike Babcock didn't want to play him, so he didn't play him, and that's what I mean. It's like, that there's got to be something. You have a taxi squad there, and the Leafs probably won't have that because they'll be close to the cap, and they probably won't carry a lot of extra bodies. But if the guy's on the 23-man roster, use them. You can't.
Well, I will tell you this: there's only a couple more years at max that Mike Babcock can get away with doing this without getting to the Stanley Cup and keeping his job. Because I think Kyle Dubas will get tired of it. I do.
Yeah, I agree. The Sabres also made a signing. I saw this, Evan Rodriguez.
Yeah, no, Russ, the thing is, I read the press release, and I couldn't tell whether this was a settlement or if this was the arbitration award, but it was $2 million.
I think it's a sign. I don't think it's arbitration. I think they signed. I think
I think they just signed him. That's what I think.
It was $2 million for 1 year.
That's a good sign. It is. He was effective last year. He and Eichel know each other. I don't know how much they actually played together, but just having him in the locker room is good for Eichel. Rodriguez is, I saw him play the PK last year, right? Mike.
Yeah, but at the end of the year, their center situation was so desperate that he was moved up and played basically second line center. And
he's not that.
He's not that. I think he's at best he's a 3 and maybe a 4.
But he's got good wheels. He's pretty fast.
Yeah, I think he was effective and in that limited role. And I think, but I'm a little taken aback by $2 million. I mean, he had 29. I think it was 29 points. He had like 9 goals and 20 assists. But
for $2 million for 29 points, I think most teams would pay for that production.
Yeah, it's a 1-year deal, and I guess it's a prove it deal, and then they see what.
Yeah, it's a 1-year deal. It's solid for them. I mean, that's a solid one.
No, that is.
I think that makes sense. I think it makes sense for them to make that move.
And again, you're going to pay $2 million if it makes Jack Eichel happy too.
Right. If it's a player that Jack Eichel likes, for sure. Absolutely.
That's a big part of it too.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about teams we think could not make the playoffs. The teams we think that could fall out, and the teams we think that could fall in based on an early return. And 1 sec, I got to take this call real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right. Let's start with the East, because in the East you had the top 3 in the Atlantic: Boston, Tampa, Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
You had in the Metro, you had the Islanders, Pittsburgh, Washington. The wild cards both came out of the Metro, Columbus, and Carolina. Right now, I think that the 2 wildcard teams are. I don't think Columbus will be a wildcard team based on the Exodus.
I agree with you.
And I don't think Carolina will be as well. Maybe unless they re-sign Justin Williams, because I think he's an important part of their team. I think they've taken a step back too. In the East, though, it's like, I mean, I think that's why I give the Rangers a chance to move up into the wild card. I don't know if Jersey's improved enough, but I think it's the Rangers. I think it's Philadelphia. I think it's Florida and Montreal in the Atlantic. I think those 4 teams will be fighting for the 2 wild card spots.
Yeah, I agree with that. I talked about the Islanders extensively with fans and otherwise. The Varlamov is going to have to play 50 games. Well, not 50 because they have Grice. So he's got to play 40-something games, maybe 42, 43 games to make that happen. Because and again, he's so erratic with his injuries that I don't know if it can. Because if we remember last year, he was the reason Colorado was doing great, and then of course,
and then Grubauer took over later in the year,
right? And so that's all. That's an issue. And where extra scoring is going to come from is an issue for the Islanders. And to be honest, even having Johnny Boychuk in there now, I know you could, guys like that, they're going to start to become an issue too. So I think the Islanders are problematic. Honestly, if New Jersey gets average NHL goaltending, they will be in it.
Now, I said, yep. I think the top 3 in the Atlantic will stay the top 3. Maybe Florida challenges one of them, but I think. But I think the 2 wild card teams from last year, Columbus and Carolina, are in deep trouble in terms of getting back in the playoffs.
Yep.
And I think Florida, I think Montreal, I think the Rangers and the Flyers all could challenge for those wild card spots. Maybe Florida gets into the top 3 and one of those 3 teams drops down, probably either Boston or Toronto, but depending on how good Bobrovsky plays. But that's the way I see it going into the season.
I want to bring up a point here, with the Flyers, because Lord Oberman brought it up, that they have 3 defensive coaches. That's not necessarily a good thing.
No.
Like, I understand they want to have an emphasis on defense, and that's all well and good, but you can have too much of an emphasis on defense like a John Tortorella and take away from your offense. And, again, if you want to lose Jake Voracek, keep telling him to play defense, and you'll lose him quicker than anybody on that team as far as, his what terrific offensive ability he has.
Yeah, I mean, they're really going to need somebody who's going to be able to help that offense go, and I don't know where that's going to come from. I mean, it should be, I guess, Vigneault, right? But I don't know.
It should be, but again, he's defense first too. He does like the great skating, puck moving aspect of offense, though. So that part will definitely be there. But again, if they're going to stress that everybody needs to be really responsible, I get it with Konecny. You want to crack down on a little, that's fine. But Voracek, nobody ever talks about cracking down on Voracek, right? They all talk about Konecny like, hey, Travis Konecny can't play like this anymore. Jake Voracek at times is worse than Travis Konecny when it comes to playing in his own end. But it's almost like they're afraid to bring it up because he's on such a long-term deal and makes so much money that they don't want to lose him because they know that Jake could go off the rails. Like, we all know that.
Yeah, Voracek can be incredibly inconsistent. And, I think Voracek more than anybody else does need a new coaching change, though. I think that'll be interesting to see. If Voracek could have a rebound, you could see Voracek rebound. Like, I could see it this year, like having a slight rebound.
5-0 says Russ, Flyers winning the cup, good times ahead. I will bet you right now, I'm going to give you the odds of the Flyers winning the cup. It's 0.000001. That is their chance for winning the cup.
Yeah, I don't think they're a cup favorite at all. No, I think that they could be a playoff team.
Sure,
they have a chance. I mean, they were close to being a playoff team last year. They're not that far out of being a playoff team, and they're not. They played it. It will so much will depend on goaltending, of course.
But the games in the Metro now, like Mike had pointed out,
they're going
to be a lot harder.
Oh yeah, I mean the Islanders, Columbus, Carolina, all 3 of them are going to be tough. It's going to be tough for them to make it. All 3 of them, and
they're not all going to make it.
I mean, I think one of them will, and I'm not sure.
I think 2 of them could, but I don't. I think Columbus. I just don't see how Columbus, even with Benstrom in there, how they're going to have enough offense. They're going to have to give Milano a chance. If they don't, I just don't know where their offense is going to come from, and their goaltending now. We're going to have to wait and see on that. Like, all of a sudden, we're talking about these teams.
I mean, Russ, everything's going to have to go right for Columbus. Texier is going to have to step up and pick up some of the goal scoring. Milano would have to come up.
But they were more than just Panarin last year on offense.
No, I know that, but you still have to replace those goals. You
do, but I think they. I mean, this is a team that did, eliminate the Lightning in 4 games. I mean, this is still. I think to say they're not going to make the playoffs.
Lightning eliminated themselves in 4 games.
Well, they did, but I think to say they're not going to make the playoffs, I think they're.
Beat them up. Hold on, Columbus punched them in the mouth, and they never responded because the Lightning were just like, "Wow, we haven't dealt with this all year. We have this great offense." The minute they punched them in the mouth, that was it. It was over.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible. I mean, it's easy to sit back and say that Columbus is not going to make it, losing those players, and your chances are you'll be right, because how many teams do lose like a Vezina goalie and a top scorer and continue on the path? I mean, it wasn't like they made it by a ton of points last year; they just made the playoffs. So
Columbus, Carolina, New Jersey all have question marks in goal.
Yeah, and goaltending is everything for Columbus. But I think that if Columbus gets good goaltending, they're a playoff team because I think they have enough depth and they have enough.
I think Korpisalo can be good. I just don't know if he can be good for 50 to 55 games.
That's what we don't know. That's the unknown.
It's going to rely a lot on Elvis to be a good backup coming over from Europe, and that's maybe too much to ask for.
That's a lot to ask too. Like those are two. That's an iffy proposition right there. It is.
So not only do you have questionable goaltending, you have to replace Duchesne, Dzingel, Panarin in your lineup. It puts more weight on on Dubois, more weight on Boone Jenner, and guys, and even guys like.
I mean, in Dubois and Atkinson, they have two legitimate players. I mean, they're
not legitimate, but there's more. The less weapons they have, the more the other teams will concentrate on those players. It'll be
yeah. But they also had a great AHL team. Remember, they have great players down there too. There you are.
But Torts is reluctant to use some of them, and that's another issue. He's going to have to be less reluctant.
But there's but there's also the thing of like when a team, kind of what we saw with the Islanders last year, when a team loses so much and everybody predicts them to fail. In the NHL, we tend to see that team not fail.
And I'll predict them to fail again this year because
everybody will. But I think that, I think the Islanders, it's going to be much harder for the Islanders this year because now people are like, okay, the Islanders are a good team. And then they're not sitting there and saying that they're going to be a disaster, where I think that works to Columbus's advantage this year. Where they'll have to sit back and say, everybody's like, oh, you lost Panarin and Bobrovsky. And I wouldn't be shocked if they just come out and suddenly do something really good.
I'll read you my player notes, although I just lost them. They were here a minute ago. Hold on Elvis Mazurkin's. Keep talking, Eck. I'll find it.
Yeah, no, I mean,
I don't know.
I know they like him a lot. I know he's got a lot of hoopla that surrounds him. He definitely seems like he's like a star quality type player.
Here's what I liked about him. He had really good puck tracking. He's feisty. He has a pushback in the crease, which will definitely serve him well in the NHL. He covers the post well. Actually, covers it really well. And he's very limber. Like he can make saves in full splits. So I felt like puck tracking is his big thing, and so that's a good thing. I didn't write anything about his glove hand, so I don't know if he has like an NHL glove hand. Like I don't know that.
A lot of the stuff you're saying there sounds very Bobrovsky like. Like that is kind of
a
lot of similarities to what Bobrovsky's strengths are.
Well, I just wanted to mention this because of the article that I'm not sure if it was The Athletic or where it came from, but Bobrovsky came out. Oh, I think it was a Russian.
Gororenko translated it, I think, from something else.
Yeah, where basically Bobrovsky said there was never any chance I was going to sign a long-term deal in Columbus, which again, okay, hindsight is 20/20, but I can say this because I was saying it before they made all the deals. They should have traded him.
There was no option, Mike.
They really couldn't trade him. Like I don't blame him for that.
We talked about some of that stuff that I heard from the inside of that stuff, and
you want to put the blame on somebody? Put it on John Tortorella because he is the one that made up Bobrovsky's mind that he wanted to leave because that fight that we all knew happened. That was the beginning of the end right there.
It was sort of the end of the end, though, I think. There was stuff going on before that. Okay. But I think that definitely did kick it into high gear. For sure. And it just gave Bobrovsky an excuse, which is what he needed. I mean,
that's true.
He wasn't going anywhere, and he wasn't accepting a trade to anywhere, and he wasn't giving them even a list of teams to trade him to. It was a mess. I mean, it was just they were trying to move him and they couldn't, and he didn't give them any options to do it. That's totally on his. If you're going to blame someone, blame Bobrovsky's agent. That's what I would say.
That's fair. I will say this: Bobrovsky is a good guy, but this is now a couple of different clubs that have had some issues with him. So he is quirky and hard to deal with. We have to say that does seem like it's a reality.
Yeah, and people have said, his big thing has been how he's responded to pressure situations throughout his career. That has been his MO.
He did better this year.
He did better this year, but then, they got on a roll. I mean, the really, really impressive thing about the Tampa Columbus series is if you remember how that thing started in the first game of that series, Tampa rolled on Columbus. 3-0 early on. And that was but then Bobrovsky rebounded from that was pretty impressive. But we also saw Bobrovsky in Philly, afraid to play in playoff games and all kinds of things. So there's other stuff there too.
Yeah. If we want to swing to the West here, I don't see the wild cards coming out of the Pacific. I think they're all coming out of the Central. That's
been the common thing for the last few years here, but I don't know this time.
Well, okay. I think that Calgary, San Jose, they're two locks in the West, and then you can say probably Vegas. Do you think Vancouver is improved enough to challenge for one of those top three spots? I don't think Edmonton is. LA and Anaheim are in rebuilds.
Yeah.
So is Vancouver, but Vancouver's talent.
I will say this: even though Anaheim is in rebuild, if Gibson gets on a roll, it's possible they could hang around.
And they have a good defense still. Yeah,
right.
And but Perry's gone and Kessler's gone, and guys like Sam Steele and Troy Terry are going to have to step up.
Yeah, and Raquel, and they still have Getzlaff. Like, they still have players.
Yes.
So a lot of that.
So does LA. But
no, not like that though. I think
not as much, but they still
not as much. I think Anaheim does have better players. Yeah. I think it does fall on Gibson a little bit, but now, yeah, I don't know. I'm not willing to say they're completely out of it yet. I need to. Now, Calgary's an interesting one because, again, that's one where the goaltending has to be solid. It does.
Yeah, Calgary could fall out of it if they weren't careful, but they. I don't think San Jose is a guarantee at all. I would hardly say San Jose is a guarantee. Losing, Pavelski is going to be a big deal to them.
And it's going to be a big deal. That in the locker room, there'll be a little bit of a locker room.
Yeah, it's going to be an issue, and that's they're not stepping up there. And then,
I'm okay, and maybe this is not a big deal, but I'm expecting them to sign both Thornton and Marleau. So when they do,
maybe they do, but that doesn't,
At least
I think what Eck is trying to say, and what I've thought about with that team is, I don't want to say it's Erik Karlsson's team because it's not, but he's a huge factor in that locker room.
Now, yeah, it kind of is now.
It's Logan Couture's team.
Yeah, but Erik Karlsson. If Erik Karlsson gets hurt, they're in trouble. I mean,
right. A lot is going to depend on that, and so that does make it an interesting situation.
Yeah, I mean, and I think Arizona is going to be an issue. I think Arizona could be an issue. I could see Arizona making a run for it.
I have to be convinced.
I think that they are better than at least 3 teams in the division, and maybe more, So as it plays along, I think Arizona is going to be.
Arizona is better than LA, maybe.
Yeah, they're better than Anaheim.
I'll give them that. All right, yes.
And I think
they're better than Vancouver. I think they're better than Anaheim.
I don't know if they're better than Vancouver. I think they might be better than Edmonton, but I don't think they're better.
They're not better than Edmonton. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely absurd. Go ahead.
Edmonton is a joke. They really are a joke. They have the best player in the league, and they're not in the top 25 in the league. They're one of the.
Hold on. There's a story brewing in Calgary.
Okay.
Because David Rittich isn't signed yet, right?
Correct.
Yeah. That's an issue now because he was good for them, and they actually need him now. He's got a bit of leverage there.
Yeah.
Well, they got Talbot, and they probably the number 2 would be Gillies if there's a holdout or an impasse. But I don't know. It's a question of whether he's going to be their number 1 or 1A like he was with Smith last year, or if they're going to go with Talbot and play Talbot a lot. I think Talbot will be better in Calgary because he actually has a defense in Calgary.
Talbot's better if he plays a lot. He's got to play a lot. That's what's got to happen with him. And, if he gets the time, then yes, he'll be good. If he doesn't get a lot of time, he's not going to be the greatest. I think Mike Smith will be good in Edmonton, though. I think he'll be a good fit for them.
I don't think he kills them. I think he helps them.
He helps their defense. He helps the defense, a lot. He helps he's going to be, once they get used to playing with him, he's also just got that, he's got that connection with Tippett that they that's so usually it's very important to have a coach and goalie be in sync.
Like him. He's a likable guy.
Yeah. And
here's the question I have. And I think I asked this to Russ. We never finished the debate. Who is finishing dead last in the Central?
Well, wait, before we do that, what I wanted to ask is, what do we think the contract for Rittich is going to be? Because it has to be a little less than Binnington. Is it going to be like a 2-year deal? Like, is he going to get
3.25 for 2?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Because he's still an unproven commodity, Russ.
Very much so.
No, but they need him now. Like, now they need out of there.
They need him as a tandem with Talbot.
Right. So, this is a key. Like, this doesn't get a lot of coverage, but this is a key thing. I don't want to say Brad Treliving is doing a bad job because I think he's doing a good job. But the fact is, for the last couple of years, we could point directly to goaltending being a real issue on their season.
Yeah.
And now they don't have this guy signed yet.
For all the plaudits that Treliving gets for the deal with Carolina getting Lindholm and getting Hannafin, he deserves to be beaten over the head for signing James Neal and now making this deal where now you're paying $6 million to a fourth liner in Milan Lucic. So
that trade I don't understand at all from their perspective. I really don't.
Well, I guess that they
must really dislike James Neal. That's all I can say.
They apparently
but they didn't use him in the playoffs. I go back to that. They benched him. So it's for a game.
The observers in Calgary said that Neal, for the second half of the year, I have to talk to Sean Vetter about this, but essentially the feedback was Neal was their worst player for the second half of the year, almost every game. So.
Is Milan Lucic going to go out there with glasses and tinfoil on his hands? Maybe. I don't know.
He's not. Yeah, I know. Really, that's what they need him to do, right? That's all he can do. I mean, I think Lucic could very well get inspired to play again in Edmonton. I mean, I'm not I'm not a huge James Neal fan. I've never have been. I always thought he was a bit overrated, and I think he plays only.
Well, I brought up one thing,
to play.
The one thing, because everybody is writing like James Neal is going to have this great resurgence. He's been going down a little bit every year. He did have a nice year with Vegas, but everybody had a nice year in Vegas. Like that was a magical year. But at the end of the day, James Neal, if his scoring isn't working, he's going to fall back on being a dirty player. That's what he does.
Yeah, but he's going to get minutes in top 6 minutes, and that's what was happening in Calgary.
You can't give him top 6 minutes
in Edmonton. Sure, he will.
No way.
That's a disaster waiting to happen.
That won't last. That's
what they did in Vegas, and it worked fine for them.
That is unsustainable.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think it worked pretty. I don't know. We'll see. But I think he gets top 6 minutes. I
mean, that very well may be the plan. That plan will change if he plays like he did last year.
But he played last year again. There's a chicken or egg thing going on here. Last year he was playing and not getting a lot of minutes, and he wasn't scoring. So,
well, we have to talk about if you want to talk about the failing of James Neal. I revert back to Yager. If you think that James Neal was going to be able to play with Gaudreau and Monahan, you were crazy. Like that was crazy out of the gate to think that was ever going to work because those guys play like it's a track meet.
Yeah.
And there was no way James Neal was ever going to be able to keep up with him. He couldn't. And then all of a sudden he had no place on the team. And then all of a sudden, you trade him.
Yeah, it fell apart quickly. I mean,
it fell apart like in the early part of the season, like maybe the first month.
Yeah, it did. It really did, and it never got going. I mean, and James Neal's career, when you look at a lot of his seasons, have been that way. They've either been like very good or very, very terrible. And
that trade, that Lucic for Neal deal, that is the Exhibit A, the prototype of the crap for crap deal. It is, the Lucic was never going to do anything in Edmonton. Neal was never going to do anything in Calgary. They get fresh starts. And
it's strange it was made between those two teams, though.
Yes.
Well, I know that is a strange
aspiration.
But Eck, I will tell you this. I did divulge to Mike, but you don't know this. I did a show with somebody that was in the Edmonton organization. Like I did it like 3 months ago, and off air was told that was their number one thing to try and move Lucic. And so Ken Holland did that. The fact that he did that is a big feather in his cap.
Oh, it's an enormous feather, and so is Tippett. Actually, I mean, I mean those two things are huge advantages. They'll give them more. They'll have a system like they haven't had before. They'll play a system solid defensively. They'll be a lot better defensively. They still have a lot of work to do, obviously, but they have two of the top players in the league, so that'll help them. But if anybody wants to bet me that Edmonton finishes below Arizona in the standings, I would love to take that bet because that's like to me that. I think Arizona is going to be good, but I just think that's like
I won't go down that road. I just know for a fact that Edmonton's going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't know that for a fact. I mean,
that one I'll bet some cookies on.
So I know they didn't miss by much last year. So to me, I don't know. And they were terrible last year. So if they get anything going at all this year,
they're going to be terrible this year.
No, I mean they were epically terrible last year, and I think that they need to just get a half of their team to play like they did the year before, and they're in the playoffs. So if they can get anybody to put in anything, they'll be a lot better. I don't know. We'll see. I think the West is going to be changing a lot. I think Nashville's in trouble. Actually, I think Nashville's in trouble.
No, So let me ask the question again. So do you? I mean, I think that predicting who is going to finish last in the Central is the more difficult question because I think all these teams, except the one I think will finish in last, got better in that division. And I think Minnesota is going to finish in last in that division.
Yeah, I'm not ready to go there yet. I want to go back to, because Randy brought up a good point that we haven't brought up a lot on the show. Matthew Tkachuk is asking for $8 million, and his contract. I didn't realize he is an RFA. Like it's
a big
he's one
deal.
of those logjam RFAs.
He is
that we haven't really talked about.
Yeah,
I've written about him a little bit, and it's a real problem. I mean, it's a serious problem for them.
He's asking for more than Monahan and Gaudreau are getting. Now that's the nature of the business because they signed those deals a couple years ago. But I mean, he did score, I think, 34 goals last year.
He had 77 points.
Yeah, I mean that's nothing to sneeze at. When a 29-point forward is getting $2 million, somebody scores 77, they're going to ask for 8.
But now because of that, if let's say they pay something close to 8, they're going to be in cap trouble. They are going to have to trade somebody because they only have $77,500,000 in cap space.
When you find somebody to take Michael Stone or trade Brody or trade Hamonic, one of those defensemen, they've got a lot of young defensemen coming up. Anderson.
That's probably what they're going to have to do. I don't think they're going to trade Hamonic, but maybe Stone, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they're going to have to do it. I don't know. I mean, I think Minnesota is probably the team, but it's a real, they have some young players. They're really, from what I've been told, I don't know enough about the prospects in Minnesota, but I've been told that they could be better than you think.
Well, I think they are better than you think because what if in a year Kaprizov comes over?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
apparently, now I want to say this. Apparently, some people who put out those prospect lists of saying that guys who aren't in the NHL, actually prospects just period in the NHL, and they come out with a listing. Mike, what was Kaprizov at? Like 11?
11, yeah.
11. The guy scores 30 goals every year in the KHL. You have to be higher than 11. That's bigger impact than most players will have. He'll have a Radulov kind of impact when he comes into the NHL. And so if that happens next year, if they get lucky and that happens, that changes their complete outlook because that's everything. He'll come in on an entry level.
It takes a lot of pressure off of the other guys too, which is really what they need. They really need some. They've got some guys on there that are being depended on to be the guy, and they would be much better if they were the second line guy.
Yeah, I think Donato, if he gets good power play time, will put in points. Luke Cunnin has been sort of injury ridden the first couple of years, but I think he could really produce for them if he's not hurt.
Greenway, Eriksson, Ek. They've got a lot of young.
Eriksson Ek has been a little underwhelming. I'll admit that. I'm surprised at his slow progress, but maybe now with Granlund moved out of there, that'll help him. And Greenway, I think, was going to be just a little better than what you see now, which is fine. I don't think, I didn't think Jordan Greenway was ever going to be like a big time producer, but he could produce a little more. So they do have that going for them.
Yeah.
And they still have some defensive prospects that are good that just aren't ready.
Yeah, that's true. That's a very good point. PK Subban's being introduced to the media in New Jersey as we speak right now.
That's cool. You know what the best part of PK will be? When Ranger fans are filling up the Rock, PK will definitely combat that in the game.
Yeah.
I imagine pre-game they'll have something taped. Like he will troll them hard.
He'll get booed like Denny Potvin at MSG.
Oh, absolutely. He will get a bigger reaction than any Devil has gotten for a very long time at MSG, which is great.
Lindsey Vaughn better not show up.
Probably like back to the Scott Stevens.
But he will show up because it's the guard.
No,
probably the Scott Stevens days, right? I mean, I think it'll be fun to watch PK in the city too, in and around the city.
Yeah.
The thing that you included in your blog today.
Yep.
The player born on your birthday against the goal.
That was fun. I like that. Just kind of cool.
Well, now the thing is, if you take it literally, the best player who was born on my birthday is Scott Stevens.
I've got that beat.
Now I would not, but you got to put him on a break on a shootout. So is that your guy?
Right.
One of the other guys on my birthday is Jussi Jokinen, who was the best shots and shootouts. So
good shootout guy. That's interesting.
I would choose Jussi Jokinen over, and he'd go against Grant Fuhr because Grant Fuhr won in '85.
In the Grant year, okay, yeah, because mine was
the best offensive player on my birthday is Jean Rattel, so I'll take him every time.
And who did he? What year did you graduate, Russ? High school?
81.
So that's Billy
81.
Smith.
That's Billy Smith. Yeah. So
That's
that would
perfect because I hated Billy Smith, but I'll take him in the shootout. It's fine.
My big thing is I've got three really good players born on my birthday. Claude Giroux, who I think is the guy I would go with, I think. But Marion Host is also born on my birthday, so that's like a tough one.
Oh, I think I might go Hossa.
Who's the third?
The other and third one is Tim Horton, who's a great player, but obviously not.
I mean, Giroux stinks in the shootout. Let's start there.
Host and what year? High school?
And I would be 86, so that's going against Patrick Waugh and the as a rookie, the rookie Patrick Waugh.
See, I said Scott Stevens will take the breakaway, and in the middle of the breakaway, he'll clean Gretzky's clock. So
my favorite thing was the guys who said they graduated in 2005 when they were shooting at an empty net, which I loved. I thought that was awesome.
Actually, Hossa was pretty good in the shootout. You'd rather have him than Giroux.
Probably should be with Hossa.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's
Giroux. I got to be honest. Giroux does the shootout like 3 or 4 times a year, and he just wants to get it over with. He doesn't use the same moves on the shootout that he does in the game. It's almost
he's a better breakaway guy in the games. I know.
Right. He's almost like he's afraid to fail in the shootout. So he just does something that's pretty robotic. And I never understood that. There were just some guys like Jaromir Jagr was completely uncomfortable in the shootout. Never
Gretzky, right? Wayne Gretzky was never comfortable in that situation. Remember?
That's true.
He never had. He was deadly, and even in breakaways in games, Gretzky was not.
Actually, who was the coach that didn't use Gretzky?
Mark Crawford.
Right.
Yeah.
The genius Mark Crawford. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. I know. I don't know. I guess Mary Host is probably the guy I should have gone with, but yeah, it's
shooting against Patrick Waugh. Like you may be screwed either way.
The rookie Patrick Waugh. I mean, Giroux at his best.
Rookie Patrick Waugh won a cup.
Yeah. Well, that's what's true with everyone because the way it works is the goalie. You're going against the goalie who won the cup the year of your.
I think I got the best chance with the Rattel going over Billy Smith because if Billy Smith is going to take a hatchet to Rattel, he's probably not going to hit him.
But what Billy Smith's going to do is he's going to take his goalie stick halfway down and butt end Rattel as he goes by, like he did to Lindy.
Right.
Yeah. The other funny one I liked are the people who graduated in 2010 and they're going against Antti Niemi. So they're one guy's my birthday's April 27th, which I think is Wayne Gretzky's birthday, and I graduated in 2010, so I'm going against Antti Niemi. I like my chances. I'm pretty good. I'm looking pretty good there.
I wish my birthday was 2013, so I can go up against Anton Forsberg.
Right. Yeah, if you haven't graduated yet from high school, you can't do this game, I guess. But there you have it. I like the. It was definitely a fun experiment. Really kind of cool, fun little thing to do in the middle of summer. That's all the time we have for today, guys. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We'll be back again tomorrow. And thanks so much for supporting us on patreon.com/hockey. And all of you guys, a lot of you guys are saying out you want to just keep doing 5 shows a week. I think that's probably what we're going to do, but we'll see how it goes here. But we're going to do our best. So, guys, remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. We will talk to you soon.